So for $500, you get power of 50K. You get around the pattern day trade rule. You have access to utilize bot trading, and you can start making money pretty much as soon as you go through the course, learn how to do what you need to do, execute the bot appropriately. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
wow, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
And someone did ask about, can you have multiple accounts running and multiple, and you can, and there's a VPS, which is a virtual private server you can set up where you can have one account, and like I have almost a dozen accounts that each one's running a different bot on a different time frame, different strategy, running on multiple accounts. So I have that as well, where you can have multiple accounts running simultaneously. And typically the bots are running on your desktop itself, right? They're running on your desktop just to start with. And if you have an internet connection or power problem or anything, they're not running. And so the solution to solve that is the VPS. Yep, as well. So
Well, that actually brings up another question because I mean, I have a fairly decent computer, but I find when I'm even running my optimization tests, I mean, some of those
yep,
can take overnight.
yep.
And when I have something like TradingView running at the same time, I find that either TradingView starts to lag or the optimization starts to lag, something starts to lag, and some of the other programs. So is there a minimum requirement that you need for computer processing to even be able to get into this?
Um, I don't really think there is. Obviously, if you're running like 35,000 tests, that's going to take hours, hours and hours and hours. And when you're running optimization tests like you referred to, it'll tell you how many variations of things, right? So it'll tell you how many tests need to be run in order to get every possible permutation of whatever you're testing. So I feel like if you have a decent, maybe like a MacBook Pro or any kind of a decent Windows, 4-core type setup, I think you'll be okay. It's not going to be super fast, but you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up learning to work around some of those at times where you're not going to sit there and wait for 8 hours for the result and twiddle your thumbs. You'll let it run overnight or something like that, as kind of you alluded to. But I'm actually working with someone to we're putting together some details to build an AWS cloud system, a very beefy server that lives in the cloud that we can run and pay by the hour. So maybe we were spending $100 an hour to run it, and we can run a whole bunch of tests really, really quickly, and then power it down and only pay by the hour. And so that's the idea, that there's some other workarounds. We don't physically have to have the actual hard computer to be super powerful. We just, kind of rent space by the hour kind of thing. We can do that as well. So
Very
in
cool.
that case, of course, we have to, we'll see how much faster things run once it's up and running. But yeah.
No, very cool. And how often do you offer these mentorships?
So I do them at the top of every month. We just started the March group last week. And so I have 2 sessions I do every Tuesday and Thursday. So on Tuesday, I do a morning session. So this is, let's see, it's at 7:30, no, 8:30 Eastern time in the mornings. Goes about an hour. So we end right when the market opens on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I have another session that I do at 8 p.m. Eastern, and it goes for an hour, and it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. So most people kind of sneak in, or not sneak in, but most people get into the evening group. I have always 3 to 4 times as many people in the evening groups than I do in the mornings, because some people, on the West Coast don't want to get up at 5:30 in the morning when it starts, which I understand. So, which
That's
I
why
did
you have the
have to
bots
do
trading for
to,
you at that time.
right. But to go through the
Right,
training
right.
stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, and people have asked too, like, what percentage of students get funded, and it's really hard to say. Because I do keep in touch with people, but unless they reach out and tell me they got funded, I don't really necessarily know if they did or didn't. I've had many people get funded. What I try to do is I try to take an approach of, I'm not going to tell you what to run it on. I don't want to, and I explicitly said this to you, Tracy, is I don't want to tell you run this on NVIDIA on this 30-minute on this group of study. I want you guys people in my class to go through the test and come to your own conclusion on what you think works the best. And when you're looking at results that have, certain drawdown or certain returns, you can look through a list and decide which one you like best and run that group of settings, right? And so I'm not saying run this and you have a guaranteed outcome. I want people to make their own decisions, especially when you're if you're spending 500 or 1,000 or $2,000 to get an actual funded account, I want you guys to make your own decisions and be comfortable with those, right? So
Totally makes sense, and you're teaching us how to fish, and I think that's great. Now, that being said as well, because we talked a bit about having a new trader, having a basic understanding, but you said that it might be good for people that are struggling with their trading, and especially struggling with consistency and executing their plan. Do you think that going the approach of using bot trading could actually make them better traders in the future, like actual traders where they execute the plan, not the bot?
It's absolutely possible. If you were to compare like someone's sloppy manual trading and the bot's consistent trading and look at which one is doing better, and the bot is beating you because it's consistent and you're hit or miss on whether you show up on time, whether you're ready to go, whether you're logged into your broker, or right, all those things. If you can get a glimpse of what is possible with bot trading and say, wow, as long as I'm consistent, there's more, I have better outcomes when I'm more consistent, and just come to that conclusion watching the bot, then I do think that that's absolutely a possibility to make, even though you're using bots at times, to become a better manual trader, because you can come to that conclusion that, wow, this thing is doing better than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's executing consistently, executing the strategies, putting on the trades consistently, right? Because
Right.
we've all been like ready to hit the button manually on send order, right? We're like, but I don't want to lose an R today. We're like, ah. And by the time you get around to clicking the button, it's already run to this target, and you're like, well, shoot. So the
Oh,
bot would solve that exact use case, right?
oh
The bot would
yeah,
have been in, and
yeah,
it doesn't matter whether you're ready; it's ready to go or not, right? You're in, you're on your way to the target. So
yeah.
yeah,
Now
yeah, and also
you've used the. Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you were going to say.
I was just gonna say every bot has about a dozen settings. So people have asked, what account size does it work in? And so each bot has about a dozen settings that you can alter your max lot size. So we all know those are one of the requirements in the funded account. The 5, 10, 20, 50 max lot size, depending on your account size. Most of them have, the day trading bots have a risk parameter. So if you're going to risk $1,000, 2,000, whatever that percentage is. So those are the types of settings where you can change and alter the settings to fit different account sizes. You don't need, Matt, send me this size bot for this account. They're all just settings you can adjust. So you can do that as well. And then things like Momo is based on spend, so you can adjust your spend, and they all have a little bit different behaviors. Some of them, the day trading ones have like you can allow it to run Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but not Thursday and Friday. Whereas Momo, it doesn't really have those restrictions. It just gets in when it gets in, right? Whatever day of the week it is. So
Right.
yeah, they're all the bots are a little bit different, but we typically go through 2, 3, 4 of them in 8 weeks, or
Right.
8 sessions in 4 weeks.
Now you've used the term gamify with one of your bots anyway, and we went through this, but I'm just curious because you were talking a little about getting kids involved. And is there an age requirement? Is there an age limit? Like, what's your theory and philosophy about kids and bot trading and getting them involved, or is this an opportunity for them to start learning early?
Oh, I love that question. So you absolutely can get involved early. I don't know if there's like a legal requirement for the account size. I'm obviously over the minimum typically for being an adult, just a few years over, of course. But there is one bot that I have where you can go back and run a back test, and you can literally click any of those buttons to go bullish on the orb, and you hit the go button, or bearish, or whatever strategy there, and you click the button and it'll throw out the order, and then the system will throw new data, like new bars, and you can see it get filled, you can see it, approaching the price target and then exit. And so you're able to take something like back testing or back trading and kind of make it fun, where you just have push buttons to buy and sell, or get in here, get out there, kind of things, that you're able to literally take what is typically, most people think of back testing, back trading, kind of like a chore. I got to do this, like the dishes or vacuuming your house. It's like, you get to do this. What do you mean you have to? Right. And so it's all, again, about perspective, but you are able to gamify with that exact strategy, or with that exact bot. And the cool part is that it becomes fun, right? You can say, hey, I want to retest or retrade the entire month of February on 1 minute chart, go, and it starts giving you bars, and you can speed up and slow down the time, how how quick those bars are coming in, and you can make some decisions and hit those buttons and place the trades and watch the P&L, tick and near time, right? You can watch it go up and down and do all the things. And so that's why I call it gamifying. And so for any of you who have young kids, it's a super interesting way to get people involved and say like, shoot, I just made, $6,000 in my back test and just like 6 1-minute candles, right? And you're like, dang, what am I doing with my life? Why am I working for, minimum wage at, stocking shelves at Target or whatever, and it kind of opens up some new possibilities, especially for young people. Absolutely.
Right. Right. I was going to ask another question regarding the drawdown as well, and potentially blowing up an account, because that is a risk when you're using a bot, that you could blow up an account. And during the mentorship that I took with you, there was a little bit of a mind switch that I recognized. And I think it was something that you said, when you look at the cost of getting into a funded account, for instance, if you went with the $50,000 account is $500. So if you actually had a $500 risk, if that's normally what you were playing with when you're day trading, you're really only putting 1R at risk. So if you were to blow up the account, you're only risking 1R, and really, what are you afraid of, right? And can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know that that's a challenge for a lot of people to overcome, that fear of blowing up an account. You've made it clear to us. Go ahead, do it.
And if you're afraid of it, just get some dynamite and just blow it up and just get it over with, right? So if you think about like a $50,000 account, it costs you $500 to get into and set up, right? Just $500. That's the most real money you can lose. That's it, right? And if you blow it up, you're just out to 500. You pay another 500 and get another account. Well, if you had a real $50,000 account and you lost 5%, you would have actually lost $100, right? You would have lost 5R technically instead of 1R, but this only costs you 1R to get into. And so I'm able to kind of get almost like a 1-to-5 ratio leverage, so to speak, of a $500, a $50,000 account only cost me $500 to get into. Whereas if I lost 5% of my real money 50K account, then I would have lost $2,500, right? And so the difference between $500 to get into this account or losing $2,500 of my real money, you do think about it in different terms. And so sometimes people will blow up an account and they think, oh my gosh, that's in the world. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Just get another account. You're still, even if you buy 5 accounts, you're kind of still, $50,000 accounts for $500 each. That's $2,500. But if you would have lost that money in your real money account, you'd be at the same place. And so you have literally 5 to 1. I don't want to say leverage, but abilities, right? You have more buying power.
Yeah.
Is there certain mindset involved with bot trading? Because when you're day trading, when you got to watch all the candles live, is there either a certain mindset that you have to kind of adapt when dealing with bots? And if so, like how do you, or even on day trading, there's certain plans that you have to kind of stick within your rules? Do you have set rules? Do you have a certain mindset that you have to kind of maintain?
So the big thing that I try to just kind of teach and go back to is most people run a test over like a 1-year time frame, right? And then they'll zoom in on run it live for maybe 2 days, and maybe it takes 2 losing trades. And they're like, oh my gosh, Matt, this is a piece of garbage. But if you look at the big picture over a year's time frame, here's what has been expected. That's the biggest challenge I see people do, is they're okay with a 1-year test over here's all the ups and downs that happen. And so for those of you who've never seen the software, I actually do an equity graph of the ups and the downs over both the realized and unrealized gains over whatever time frame you're testing. Let's say 2022, the entire calendar year, from January 1st to December 31st, just as an example. And you can see all the ups and downs that go through that. Well, most people, they want the ups without the downs, right? And so like, well, Matt, I only want to take the winning trades. Like, how do I hit the take losing trades equal no setting? Like, I wish we all had that, right? That doesn't exist. And so people assume that the bots are like ATM machines. I turn it on, it's going to just print money for me. Well, it's going to execute the strategy. And as long as the market conditions are, they're friendly to that strategy, whatever it is, if it's trending, if it's ranging, if it's momentum, whatever it is, it's gonna perform well. But if the market conditions change, that's different. So that's the big thing that I've seen people do is they're okay with the big picture, but they zoom in this little bitty, I don't know if you guys have ever looked at like a weekly chart and you're like, okay, I like this movement on a weekly chart. And then you go into a 1 minute chart and you start making decisions on this little tiny time frame. And you're like, that's what people do. The same thing with the bots. They do the same thing. They're like, this little bitty, like, I'm going to tighten my stop on a 1 minute chart, even though you made a trade off a weekly chart. And people do that all the time. And that's one of the biggest things challenges that I see. So,
right. Let's talk about scalability.
sure.
Because, you could start with say a $50,000 account, but, you get your feet wet. And at some point you're thinking, well, you know what, I'd rather be trading $1 million account. And, what's your way around that? What do you think? What's the best way to scale this?
So the easiest thing to do is start on whatever account you can afford that if it blows up, you're not using like grocery money. I hear quite a few people that I just talked to and they're like, Matt, I can't wait. I need the money now. And we're like, you're not in a good place to even try to take risks because it's all dependent on, there's like no possible outcome that you would be happy with. It's like, I need to win huge and it needs to be tomorrow. And I think maybe don't get started if that's kind of the way you're thinking about it. But what you can do is get a 50K account, right? Grow it 10%, get it funded, pull money out, right? Pull out, and let's say you get $1,000, pull out $1,000, use that $1,000 to now get a 100K account, grow it 10%, get it funded, pull money out, get a $200,000 account for 2,000, and just keep repeating that process. And that's what I recommend. I have multiple funded accounts, the actual funded, and that's kind of the way I walk people through how to scale these, so that even if you have an actual, God forbid you have an actual funded account that's actually funded and it blows up, which I am safe. I'm I have blown up an actual funded account, not because of the drawdown, but because of inactivity, which is like, oh, I didn't even think about that one. That snuck up on me, right? So 30 days inactivity, I had an actual funded account where it didn't place a trade. The bot didn't take a trade, and that's one of the things that's now on my checklist. I won't make that mistake again. But the idea of using seed money, starting with $500, growing that, getting it funded, pull it out, and then kind of keep ratcheting and getting bigger and bigger accounts. That's the ideal way to do it.
Right.
I mean, if you can afford to start at a 500K account, then, start there. Most people don't want to, they just want to test the waters on a small scale, and which is perfectly acceptable.
So scalability with a bot is the best way. Cause I mean, to manage multiple accounts on day trading would be very difficult to do. So if you wanted to, it would be tricky. So I think scalability is a lot easier when you're doing bot trading than it is with just a funded account in general. So yeah, definitely. I love that. That's great. So are there any last minute kind of, tips or tricks or suggestions that you would give to anyone that's considering getting into the world of bot trading?
There are a few things that I would recommend. One is sign up for my, I do have a free ebook that kind of goes through some examples and stories, and just for free, it gives you a couple of videos just to get started. You don't even have to join the class itself. And I'll throw the link here in the chat pane.
You can give it to me as well, and I'll put in the description of this video.
Gotcha. So there's just sign up for the ebook itself. And it does kind of walk you through and it tells some stories of getting started and what it's like and what's possible. It does tell the story. When I first wrote this book in December, I closed $18,000 of gains in one day. And, previously you're like, what, how does that even happen? Some people are struggling to make $200 or $300 a month with trading. And I don't know, like it executed the strategy and the market conditions kind of cooperated, right? It's like the sailboat, you got the sails out and a nice gust of wind comes, right? It's like you're in position. And you could say that you get lucky at times, but you're ready to go in position, ready to win and ready to succeed. And then, maybe a little luck comes along and helps you. And that's kind of, how it plays out typically. And so download the ebook would be a good start. And I think it's the last or next to the last page of that book. I think it's 18, 20 pages. Tells you kind of step one, download this free software. And I have a video on how to do it, how to install like a starter bot and kind of go through it. Just kind of a high level just to get started. And so There's, I think, 7 or 8 steps there in the ebook that explains what to do with a little video for each. So
Very cool. And just so you know, luck is just preparation for opportunity. But
it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very cool. Well, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. And I think that anyone that's interested in bot trading, they've learned a lot from listening to you right now, and highly recommend your mentorship. I learned tons. Plus, you're one of my favorite people. So I really enjoy spending time with you and learning from you. So it's been great.
When does your next mentor group, when is that available for sign up?
So it starts in April, the top of the next month. Yeah.
So registration for it's probably within the next week or so, something like that.
So it's, so you go to my website, matt-delong.com, and under trading automation, it talks more in depth. On the 15th of the month, it does appear on the Real Life Trading website for mentor groups as well. But yeah, it's technically open right now for April. But, yeah.
And we'll put the
One
links.
more question.
Yeah, we'll put the links.
From a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, 10 being extremely likely, how likely is it, in your opinion, that bots just take over humanity?
So what's interesting is that certain things can be automated. I would say probably a 4.
4, all right. So you're saying there's a chance. Okay.
Yeah, because like most people don't realize that bots and even robots, McDonald's is like testing this whole 100% human-free, design of their restaurant. But bots are good for repetitive tasks over and over, right? But for some random thing that comes out of nowhere that the bot wasn't anticipating or predicting to happen, then those are the kind of things where humans still come in. And I think even Elon Musk, when he built the original vision for Tesla, is everything was going to be automated. Well, that's great when everything's where it should be, but if there's any kind of like parts that are missing, or let's do something a little slightly out of order, bots just can't handle anything that's not perfect world scenario, right? And so I think it's a low chance of bots taking over the world, but I do like a good Terminator movie.
There you have it. Awesome. Appreciate you popping in on the Real Life Trading Pivot Podcast. So educational as always. Tracy, good to co-host with you once again. And for all you guys that tune in each and every week, we do appreciate you guys. Any of the links that we discussed today will be in the description of the videos as well. You guys are incredible. Until next time, we will see you next week at the Real Life Trading Pivot Podcast. See you guys later.
Thanks, guys.